Hey everybody, this is Jared with Expedition J-Force, and I'm here with my friend
Caroline. Hello.
This is Caroline. So, as you know, I've been here a couple times now. Caroline is a Ohioan, is that what you call yourself? Native, a Cedar Point enthusiast, and has never been to Dorney before. So today is going to be getting a Cedar Point locals' opinions on our humble little Dorney Park. So I tried to temper expectations. So we are walking under the Immelman of Iron Menace right now, and we're gonna get our first rides on it as we walk with all of the rope drop people. All right, we are in the queue. We're gonna be riding front row very shortly. So Cedar Point's dive coaster is Valraven. I have yet to get to Cedar Point. It's happening in July, so I'm brand new to it. So how's Valraven?
I like it a lot. I've done it several times. Front row is usually best, I think, but I've not done back row. I think I've only done front and middle.
So, you know, dive machine, of course, like being in the front, like you are just hanging there for that, you know, first drop hold. I get it. I still like the back row though, like especially on Griffin too. The airtime's just so good.
Well, maybe we'll try back row on this one.
I think I prefer back row on Iron Menace, but we'll see.
I've done it.
We'll give you our thoughts here in a second. All right, we just rode Iron Menace twice. We got one front row ride, one back row ride. Caroline, what'd you think?
It's not as good as Valraven. I know, but it's different enough that it like can stand alone as its own thing. Because Valraven has two of the drops, and this one just has the one, and then it has more inversions. Yeah,
it's like Griffin where you've got the two big drops, but this has a more complete layout in my opinion with all of the different inversions that you're going through. Which did you like better, front or back row?
I usually like front better on these kinds of coasters, but I think I like the back better, I think.
Yeah, I love the back.
Close.
The airtime, there they go. On that first drop is just really great. Even though it is a little bit more rattly in the back, I prefer the back row, but we're about to go ride Possessed, so you'll get your nostalgia for
Wicked Twister.
Yeah, all right.
She's gone.
We are waiting to get on Possessed. Obviously, this is an intimate impulse coaster. It's an exact clone of the one that was at Cedar Point. Any fond memories of Wicked Twister?
The lines were short. You can get on pretty quickly.
At Cedar Point, I imagine that is a benefit.
It's a good thing.
What are the quickest lines at Cedar Point?
I mean, the Twister was one of them. Gemini is always short. Raptor can be short sometimes. Occasionally Valraven is short.
Which I've heard is better than Iron Menace.
It depends though. I usually go in the middle of the week.
That's fair. That's fair.
My experience with Cedar Point lines might not be the average experience.
True. All right, well, we're going to get this ride and let you know how it goes. All right, my hair is already not surviving this day. But how was that blast from the past?
Went back to Ohio, minus the great view of the lake.
If you squint your eyes, you're at Cedar Point.
Yeah, you just really squint at the parking lot. Imagine it's water.
I like the back row of Possessed. I like the little hang time you get at the top of the spike. It's like a mini top thrill too now. You've only ever ridden in the middle?
I don't remember, but I do remember the last time I went on, I think I was in the middle. But it was popular enough that like they would just tell you where to go. So you couldn't really choose all the time. I mean, you probably could if you went when there weren't a lot of people.
Yeah, this is opening weekend at Dorney. I mean, we basically walked on to Possess. The only line is Iron Menace. We're gonna go ride Steel Force and Thunderhawk next, and but it's a super chill day here and it's beautiful out. So, all right, on to the next one. We are in the line for Steel Force. This is Dorney's hypercoaster, of course, from Morgan. Cedar Point has a hypercoaster as well. Magnum XL 200. Tell us a little about that, Caroline.
I have simply only ridden it. I have simply only ridden it once, I think.
Really?
I think so.
Only once.
And it was the first time I went. So it's been a while.
So you don't really remember too much about it. You always go for the Giga Millennium Force?
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. I remember it not being that great.
I don't think a lot of people, if I recall, and I might have to turn in my Thuzy card, I think it was the first hyper coaster. It was the very first one to be 200 feet tall, which is why it's Magnum XL 200. So they've gotten better.
They certainly have.
All right, so you won't have too much to compare Steel Force to.
Not a ton. I mean, the line for that one doesn't tend to be super long, but it tends to be long enough that it's just like not worth it.
Gotcha.
I think.
All right, well, thank you for that riveting review of Magnum
I know,
XL 200.
riveting.
We're gonna go ride Steel Force.
It's been years, so maybe this one will be better than my memory of it, which is not super great.
All right, starting in front of the sign and then moving over because people are going to get in line. So we just rode Steel Force. We'll go that way. It's been a minute later because we were next in line and then they had to stop for maintenance. So we went and rode Thunderhawk in the meantime. But we just got back on and back off Steel Force. How does it compare to Magnum XL 200, your one ride?
I think it's better.
You thought that, you compared it to Millennium Force, actually?
It's definitely nowhere near as good as Millennium Force.
Because that's a Giga and this is a
Millennium
Hyper.
Force is incredible. It's my second favorite of all time. But I do feel like it felt to me more similar to like a smaller Millennium Force as opposed to the Magnum. But I haven't been on the Magnum in a long time.
Yeah.
So if I rode that one again, maybe I would feel differently.
So this is your favorite one in the park so far?
It's my favorite one in the park.
Yeah. I was kind of waffling back and forth on whether I liked Steel Force still more or Iron Menace. I think it might have been a recency bias. That last ride on Steel Force was really good. It was flying. It's really running well this year. There was great airtime, especially on the return run. It's just bunny hill.
Hill over hill.
I enjoyed, because that was your first time riding it, I enjoyed your live reaction as we're going to all the elements that you didn't know were coming.
I didn't expect it to like launch us over the first hill.
Yeah, you're just like, oh geez, we're going.
I thought it was just gonna be like a smooth, you just go right over. Like that's what I'm used to with these kinds of like slow ascents, but it really just whipped us over the top.
The forces with the helix coming down too over by the river are really nice as well. It just felt like it was flying. So
that was great.
Yeah,
and it's long.
Yeah, and it's like 5,600 feet of track. Steel Force, I think, still reigns supreme as the king of Dorney Park. I love it. I'm probably gonna up it in my rankings. So. Please stand by for that. But
I've got 2 more to try before I can like make it a definite ranking.
4 coasters in, then we'll get her.
So far,
her
our
ranking.
opinions are similar.
All right. All right, we are standing in front of Thunderhawk. We actually just got off of Steel Force. We ran over because it got back up, but. This is a 100-year-old now, celebrating its 100th anniversary, Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters, wooden coaster, which there is a PTC at Cedar Point as well, which is...
Blue Streak.
And how do you like Blue Streak?
It's fun. It's one of those coasters that like, you kind of don't even think about and you forget it exists, and then like, you know, if the line is short, you pass by it, you're like, I might go on Blue Streak.
So
I think I've done it once or twice.
You would
like
say
7 or 8 times I've done Cedar Point.
You enjoyed Thunderhawk more?
Yes.
Yeah. What'd you think of Thunderhawk?
It was pretty good for a wooden coaster.
100 years old too.
Kind of 100 years old. I mean, it's not bad.
We got to ride in the front, which I've never gotten to ride in the front. And I think I've said it before, this one, I want airtime with my old wooden coasters. This one is really more about the lateral forces. It's throwing you side to side. I get stapled immediately, whether I am at the start of the ride or not, just the forces immediately lock me in.
It's the best wooden coaster in Pennsylvania.
It's not, it's really not. But it's a decent time. She's running well, and it's a good coaster, and I'm glad it's here at Dorney Park. So
I think it's better than Blue Streak.
We are,
I'll give it that.
We're 4 in, and we're gonna go hit Hydra and Talon, and then we'll hit all the running coasters today. We just got off of Hydra, Dorney's B&M floorless coaster. So Cedar Point has Rougarou, which was a stand-up coaster converted to floorless, so it's not like a direct comparison, but how are they?
It's close. I think this gets the edge a little bit because Rougarou is very bumpy, and it's one of the ones that, like, you know that you're probably going to leave with a little bit of a headache. It's fun though. It's like it's good, but it's kind of like mid-tier Cedar Point, I would say.
So then how do you feel about Hydra?
I think this one was slightly better. Slightly. It was a little smoother, and I like the roll at the beginning.
Gotcha. Yeah, JoJo roll's great.
Unique.
Yeah.
That's not in the Rougarou for sure.
It's running a little better from last year, I think. In past years, I've had issue just because it feels a little boring, just because it's a little forceless, but it's running faster this year, I think. And I had some better hang time on some of the inversions. It's still nothing like crazy. It's definitely not my favorite floorless, but it is running a bit better, though it is also a little rattly. So I think it could use a little TLC, but it's a good ride. It's a solid addition, and it's running better this year. So one more, unless we decide to also ride the Wild Mouse, so we'll see. But we're gonna head on over to Talon. Maybe we'll ride the Wild Mouse. All right, we are here in line, shortly getting on Talon, which is Dorney's B&M invert. So Cedar Point has Raptor, right? So how do you feel about Raptor?
I like Raptor. It's one of the ones that I basically hit almost every time I go. It's not as good as some of like the really good Cedar Point coasters, but it's like high mid-tier.
Yeah,
it's one of the better mid-tier coasters there.
In a park though where you have like Top Thrill and Millennium Force and Steel Vengeance, like even a good coaster is kind of going to fall to the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
So
it would
I
be
get
like
that.
A top coaster in a lot of other parks, but not at Cedar Point.
Right, that makes sense.
But it's still worth doing.
So we'll see how you feel about Talon, a grip of fear.
It's better.
All right, we just got off of Talon, the B&M invert. What'd you think, Caroline?
This one, I like this one a lot. I think I would put it at third overall of this park, and it's very similar to Raptor. I think of all of the like comparisons that can be made with similar coasters between here and Cedar Point, this is the most similar.
If you had to pick Raptor or Talon, which would you pick?
I might pick Raptor. But I also,
home park
Raptor
advantage.
probably has the edge because I've done it a lot more.
That's
and,
fair.
You know, it's Cedar Point.
Yeah, the lines are picking up now, so we're probably not going to get too many re-rides. We want to go hit the Wild Mouse for the credit run.
I've never done it here. I did the new one at Cedar Point last year.
So
and it was fun.
But I mean, we'll be back probably in like October and stuff, so you'll get some more re-rides. But yeah, Talon's running very good. I forgot just how forceful it was. I even grayed out, I think coming out of the loop or on the second inversion, one of the two. It's a very forceful ride. It's very tight and compact. There are just a few dead spots where it's just a little meandering for me that prevent it from being a bit higher, but I forgot it is a very solid B&M invert and a great time. It's a good addition for Dorney. So
I liked it a lot.
We'll see if we can't hit the Wild Mouse, and then we'll kind of give our final thoughts and review and see a Cedar Pointian's perspective on Dorney. All right, so that is going to be a wrap on our Dorney Park trip. We have work tonight, so we have to leave, unfortunately, but we got pretty much everything that we wanted to do.
Not to the Wild Mouse.
Done, except for that. But honestly, we did all the good stuff, so that's fine.
We did all the things that mattered.
All right, so first of all, thoughts on Dorney Park, just in general, at the park itself?
It's a great park. I mean, the coasters here are good. They're definitely comparable to, and sometimes even slightly better than some of Cedar Point's coasters. It's just that those coasters that they're comparable to are the like mid-tier
the
Cedar Point coasters,
the less standout.
Not the good ones.
Yeah, exactly. But as a small regional park, I have a soft spot for Dorney. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's great. Lines usually aren't too long. It's a nice family place, and they do have a good coaster lineup.
The lines are much shorter than Cedar Point too. That's a big plus.
They're used to
You
multiple
can just hop on things. That's
2 hour
so
plus
nice.
lines.
That only happens at Cedar Point if you go in the middle of the week and you get lucky.
All right, so you picked up 6 credits. So rank them for me. Number 1.
Steel Force, and it's not close.
Steel Force is great. It was running
It was
so good.
really, really
so
good. It was definitely my favorite.
All right, I think the rest are a little closer, number 2.
Rest are closer. Iron Menace, I think.
Okay.
I think.
It'll be a little controversial to some people, but honestly, I think I agree. Talon is great. I just love that airtime on that first drop and the hang time you get from the inversions. Talon is super forceful, so I understand if you like Talon better from the G-forces, but that's our opinion. So number 3?
I think Talon.
Talon.
Yeah. And then Hydra's next. And I actually think Talon and Hydra are surprisingly close.
You really like that JoJo roll.
The JoJo roll was great. And it's not something that is on any of the Cedar Point coasters. So it's like things that I find that I particularly like going to new parks are things that are very unique to me. And things that I haven't experienced before in Cedar Point, because I've been to Cedar Point so many times and I've gotten used to a lot of those kinds of coasters.
Speaking of things you haven't experienced before, does that make number 5 Possessed?
Ah, yes.
Wicked Twister 2.0?
2.0.
Yep. So
I mean, I missed her. She's gone now in Cedar Point, so.
And then Thunderhawk last.
Yeah.
Not that it was bad. Thunderhawk is a very good.
It was still good. I mean, for
ride.
how old it is, especially, it still runs pretty well, and it's good. It's very bumpy. You get jostled around a lot.
All right, there you have it. A Ohioan native, a Cedar Point.
Ohioan, that's right.
Oh, there you go. Aficionados, first time and experience at Dorney Park. We're gonna try and go to Cedar Point together, probably later in the summer.
Probably August.
But we're local to Dorney, so we're definitely going to be back together at least in the fall. Caroline is heading to
North Dakota.
Just like JJ, everybody's leaving me.
Working in summer stock.
So she's got a contract out there. There are not many coasters out there. There's like a mountain coaster. So
there's like maybe one coaster a couple hours from mine at North Dakota, which is where I'll be.
So we're planning all the trips when she returns. But anyway, thank you very much, Caroline. I appreciate you being a part of the vlog. Thank you for sticking through to the end. I really appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.